This is the Wells Report, which will return in 2 minutes. You're listening to the Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. This is the news. Honestly reported and fairly reported. We do analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we depropagandize the mainstream media's news. We make commentary. That is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast today. As always, we start with the news. We have a news block that we begin our broadcast with. It's time to get that going. So why don't you say we do exactly that? Time now for the Wells Report front page. This for October 18th. It's Wednesday. It's 2023. This from USA Today. Israelis and Palestinians blamed each other yesterday for an explosion Hamas said killed hundreds at a Gaza City hospital packed with wounded people and others seeking shelter from relentless bombing as the Israel-Hamas war continues. The event scuttled President Joe Biden's summit with Arab leaders scheduled for today after his visit with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, initially said an Israeli airstrike tore through Al-Ali Hospital. The Arab hospital is also known as Baptist Hospital, and the estimated number of fatalities was a minimum of 500. The Israeli Defense Forces said an analysis of IDF operational systems indicated that a barrage of rockets was fired by terrorists in Gaza, passing in close proximity to the Al-Ali Hospital in Gaza at the time it was hit. Intelligence from multiple sources we have in our hands indicates that Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch, which hit the hospital in Gaza. The U.S. considers Islamic Jihad the second largest militant group in Gaza and the West Bank, a terrorist organization. It occasionally cooperates with Hamas, which called the result of the explosion a horrific massacre caused by Israel. However, Israeli military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the Army determined that there were no Israeli Air Force, ground, or naval attacks in the area at the time of the blast, just before 7 p.m. local time. He said radars detected outgoing rocket fire at the same moment, and intercepted communications between militant groups indicated Islamic Jihad had fired the rockets. Verified video shows fire engulfing the hospital building and its grounds, strewn with torn bodies. About 350 casualties from the Al-Ali explosion were then transported to Gaza City's main hospital, Al-Shifa, which had already been overwhelmed with wounded from other airstrikes, said its director, Mohammed Abu Selmiya. President Biden, for his part, traveled to the Middle East, but important meetings were canceled. President Joe Biden's mission to contain Israel's confrontation with Hamas was overtaken even before he left Washington yesterday by fast worsening events that threatened to spill over into regional war. A devastating blast at a hospital in Gaza, believed to have killed hundreds of people, prompted Jordan to cancel the second leg of Biden's trip. After a visit to Israel, he'd been due in Amman to meet key Arab and Palestinian leaders. The president was already on his way to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland when news broke that his trip to Jordan had been canceled as a result of the hospital blast. He had been due to meet King Abdullah, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority, which administers the West Bank but not Hamas-controlled Gaza. The president arrived in Israel early this morning with the Middle East in peril of sliding toward a disastrous wider war following the barbarism of Hamas attacks on Israeli citizens, which killed more than 1,400, and the pounding of the Gaza Strip by Israeli forces in response, which killed more than 3,000 people, according to authorities on both sides. The cancellation of the Jordan trip for the president represents a serious optics problem, since now he risks being seen in the region as siding with Israel without an opportunity to listen to the concerns of Arab leaders. For its part, the UN Security Council is set to vote on a resolution to condemn Hamas. The United Nations Security Council is expected to vote today on a resolution that will condemn, quote, the heinous terrorist attacks by Hamas on Israel, unquote, as well as all violence against civilians. The resolution calls for humanitarian pauses to deliver desperately needed aid to millions of people who have been displaced in Gaza. Brazil holds the Security Council presidency this month and sponsored the Hamas condemning resolution. Final edits to the resolution continued throughout yesterday. The vote comes after the Council rejected a Russian-drafted version Monday that condemned violence and terrorism against civilians and called for a humanitarian ceasefire without specifically mentioning Hamas. Russia is attempting to amend the Brazil resolution and has proposed two amendments that will be voted on first. One calls for a humanitarian ceasefire. The other would condemn indiscriminate attacks on civilians and assaults on civilian objects in Gaza, like hospitals and schools. Brazil said the vote on Wednesday, today, would be followed by an emergency meeting to discuss yesterday's explosion and fire at a Gaza City hospital, which left hundreds dead. Russia, the United States, United Arab Emirates, and China called for the emergency session. News from the States this morning, out of New York. This from USA Today. A 19-year-old Sikh man on a New York City bus was attacked in a suspected hate crime by an assailant who tried to remove his turban and face mask, this according to authorities. The incident occurred aboard the MTA shuttle bus 8810 in Queens at 9 a.m. Sunday, according to the New York Police Department. The suspect approached the teenager and yelled, "We don't wear that in this country. Take that mask off." He then punched the teen in the back of the head, face, and multiple times in the back. According to police, the suspect later fled on foot along Liberty Avenue in an unknown direction, is being sought, according to officials. The victim, who was not identified, suffered a minor laceration and pain after the attack, according to authorities. The teen refused further medical treatment at the scene. No other injuries were reported. New York police said on Monday that they had released surveillance images of the suspect, who is shown wearing a yellow bubble jacket, blue jeans, and sneakers. Authorities described him as a man between 25 to 35 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall, with a dark complexion, slim build, brown eyes, and black hair. Out of Ohio, a man was arrested after throwing anti-Semitic slurs through a Ring doorbell camera, this being reported by the London Daily Mail. The house was owned by a family with an Israeli flag outside their home. Jacoby Righty, he's 39 years old, hurled abusive language at two families in a neighborhood in Bexley, Ohio, for their support of Israel and ties to Judaism. "You Zionist pigs are effing disgusting," are the words that Righty fired at one family in the security video obtained by Fox News. The anti-Semite has since been arrested at his home in Bexley after a series of similar incidents after authorities tracked his vehicle. He was reportedly already being monitored for similar anti-Semitic incidents. Debbie Meyer, the woman whose home was targeted, said, quote, "I was so shaken up I had to call the police right away because I wanted them to get here fast as they could to be able to find him," unquote. Then Illinois, a follow-up from yesterday's story that we told you. The suburban Chicago landlord accused of fatally stabbing a 6-year-old Muslim boy and seriously wounding his mother had a hatred of Muslims and targeted the family in response to the Israeli-Hamas war. This according to new court documents. Joseph Zuba, 71 years of age, appeared in court yesterday, was formally charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of a hate crime, and aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. A judge ordered Zuba to be held without bail, and the preliminary hearing was scheduled for October 30th. And then out of California, this from Fox News. Voice actress Tara Strong has been dropped from her role as in the independent animated series Boxtown. This after her social media activity about the Israeli-Hamas conflict was found by the producers of the broadcast. Just found out on X, formerly Twitter, on Friday. This is what happens when you help fans get shows I made, I guess. Fired for being Jewish. Glad I helped you get your Kickstarter money. She's speaking to the producers here. Please lose my email address and pray for my family in Israel and Gaza. And hashtag pray for peace. Strong, who's 50 years old, voiced characters on several Cartoon Networks and Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon classics like The Powerpuff Girls, Rugrats, Teen Titans, and more. She authored the post in response to another from the show's account announcing the role would be recast. This is that X post. Quote, "Hello all, I wanted to offer a quick update on Boxtown. We'll be recasting the role of Bill, previously played by Tara Strong. We'll have more info as soon as we open auditions. Thanks y'all for understanding as we reorient and figure out our next steps." This according to the post being read in full. Some posters raged in the comments, echoing Strong's claims that she was fired for being Jewish, including one who added, "I've seen this before." The show immediately replied with another X post noting that other voice actors and writers on the show are Jewish. But another commentator quickly fired back, arguing Strong was fired for being Jewish and, quote, not remaining silent. From the world of politics, this being reported by Fox News, reporters chased Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio down a hallway shortly before yesterday's first vote, where he declared himself confident of winning the speaker's job. That confidence was not enough. 20 Republicans voted for others. Even though Jordan's opponents could not find a protest candidate to run, he lost in the first round. It was quite a feat for the Judiciary Committee chairman to lose by that margin. He could only afford 4 defectors, since he'd only gotten 124 votes in the GOP's secret ballot the day before. That was far short of the magic number of 217. Since a few of the converts had vowed never to ever back Jordan, that highlighted his skill at winning over members. More horse trading was underway last night and into today. The one-time wrestling coach would have to flip 16 of the 20 no votes against him, which seems like a tall order. Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted in less than 9 months, lost only 8 Republicans. By the way, the House is expected to hold a second speaker vote later this morning. This also from Fox News. The House of Representatives is expected to hold a second vote later today to elect a House Speaker, but it remains unclear how GOP nominee Jim Jordan will fare. The House will meet at 11 a.m. to be followed by a live quorum call to take attendance and the nominating speeches, which means there will not be an actual vote until later in the 11 a.m. hour or perhaps the noon hour. Republicans nominated House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, who lost in the first round after 20 Republican members voted for other candidates. Jordan can only lose 4 Republicans if no Democrats vote for him. And that is today's front page. So what's going to happen with this vote? I really don't know, but the Republican Party desperately needs to get their crap together. I was going to try to moderate that language just a little bit, but I'm so frustrated with the Republican Party, and here's why. The same people that voted against Jim Jordan were scurrilously stomping up and down when Matt Gaetz and his friends decided to do away with the speakership of Kevin McCarthy. They are what are referred to as moderate Republicans, or In the parlance of, say, for example, the new Republican Party, rhinos. We are seeing the actual swamp actually in action in turning away Jim Jordan. Now, this is understandable. The swamp has had power so long that they really don't believe that they have anything to have to, say, for example, do for the American people. In other words, they do not believe themselves beholden to the voters who put them in office. And so, after excoriating the new conservative Republican Party and the members that took out Kevin McCarthy, they did the exact same thing. This is what we call hypocrisy. It's one of the reasons why I left the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, I invite other people to leave the Republican Party, join the Conservative Party of the United States. I think that's a really good idea. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment. Stay where you are, please.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. The President of the United States is speaking in Tel Aviv. Let's go live to his speech.
What sets us apart from the terrorists is we believe in the fundamental dignity of every human life. Israeli, Palestinian, Arab, Jew, Muslim, Christian, everyone. You can't give up what makes you who you are. If you give that up, then the terrorists win, and we can never let them win. You know, Israel's a miracle, a triumph of faith and resolve and resilience over impossible pain and loss. Think about October 7th, the Jewish holiday, where you read about the death of Moses, a tragic story of a profound loss to an entire nation, a death that could have left hopelessness in the hearts of the entire nation. But though Moses died, his memory, his message, his lessons have lived on for generations of the Jewish people as well as many others. And just as the memory of your loved ones will live on as well. After reading the story of Moses' death, those who observe the holiday began reading the Torah from the very beginning. The story of creation reminds us of two things. First, that when we get knocked down, we get back up again, and we begin anew. And second, when we're faced with tragedy and loss, we must go back to the beginning and remember who we are. We are all human beings, created in the image of God with dignity, humanity, and purpose. In the darkness, to be the light unto the world is what we're about. You inspire hope and light for so many around the world. That's what the terrorists seek to destroy. That's what they seek to destroy. Because they live in darkness. But not you, not Israel. Nations of conscience like the United States and Israel are not measured solely by the example or power. We're measured by the power of our example. That's why, as hard as it is, we must keep pursuing peace. We must keep pursuing a path so that Israel and the Palestinian people can both live safely, in security, in dignity, and in peace. For me, that means a two-state solution. We must keep working for Israel's greater integration with its neighbors. These attacks have only strengthened my commitment and determination and my will to get that done. I'm here to tell you the terrorists will not win. Freedom will win. So let me end where I began. Israel, you're not alone. The United States stands with you. I told the story before, and I'll tell it again, of my first meeting with an Israeli prime minister 50 years ago as a young senator. I was sitting across from Golda Meir at her desk in her office. And she had a guy who later became prime minister, sitting next to me, just before the 1973 Yom Kippur War. And she flipped the maps up and down, telling me how bad things were and how terrible they were. All of a sudden, she looked at me and she said, "Would you like a photograph?" I looked at her. She got up from her desk and walked out into that hallway. I think it's marble flooring. Walked out in the hallway. We walked out and there were a bunch of photographers standing in front of us. We were standing shoulder to shoulder. And without her looking at me, she said to me, knowing I'd hear her, "Why do you look so worried, Senator Biden?" And I said, "Worried? Like, of course I'm worried." And she looked at me and she didn't look. She said, "We don't worry, Senator. We Israelis have a secret weapon. We have nowhere else to go." Well, today, I say to all of Israel, the United States isn't going anywhere either. We're going to stand with you. We'll walk beside you in those dark days. We'll walk beside you in the good days to come. And they will come. As you say in Hebrew, which I'm not going to attempt to do because I'm such a terrible linguist, I'll say it in English. The people of Israel live. The people of Israel live. Israel will be safe, secure, Jewish, and democratic state today, tomorrow, and forever. May God protect all those who work for peace. God save those who are still in harm's way. Thank you very much.
The President of the United States, a brief message before the press, shouting their questions, no questions taken, and we will be right back here in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells reporting on the Israeli-Hamas war. An horrific attack last night, not by Israel, but by Islamic Jihad, which is another terror group that works in the Gaza Strip with Hamas. They fired a rocket. It malfunctioned. The basic propulsion went one way, the warhead went another, and landed near a hospital, killing hundreds. Let me bring you up to date on everything that we know so far and bring you some video of that attack that I just referenced. This from CNN 17 minutes ago. Some countries are declaring mourning periods following yesterday's blast at the Al-Ali hospital in Gaza, where the Palestinian Health Ministry said hundreds were killed. Syria declared public mourning for a period of 3 days. Egypt declared on Wednesday, today, a 3-day state of general mourning. Iran declared general mourning throughout the country for 3 days, quote, in honor of the innocent souls who fell victim to international silence before falling victim to the fire of barbaric aggression, unquote. Jordan declared yesterday that 3 days of mourning to honor the martyrs of the Al-Ali Baptist Hospital and the martyrs of Gaza. Lebanon announced yesterday that today is a day of national mourning. Mauritania declared yesterday 3 days of national mourning following the hospital blast and called on the international community to make sure to stop immediately what it described as genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said yesterday, also declaring 3 days of mourning that will be observed for the victims of the blast. He then went on to blame Israel for the hospital blast, while the Israeli Defense Forces said it was an Islamic Jihad rocket. Islamic Jihad also denied that a failed rocket launch was responsible for the explosion. CNN cannot independently verify what caused the explosion nor the extent of the casualties. Well, fortunately, CNN, there is the Wells Report, so we will bring you the evidence that you apparently lack, or at least lacked as of 17 minutes ago when that particular article hit the air. How that happened, I have no idea, but I will tell you that, once again, the Wells Report is cleaning up after a major news outlet. So let's go with that, shall we? This is video that, let me get this started for you. This is video that showed up here a minute ago, and you can see the rocket leaving and moving up, and then this is a misfiring rocket. Let me give you some of the background noise, if I can. There doesn't seem to be much. It's taken from a live stream. Then the actual propulsion system explodes. Now the rocket is falling to Earth. Debris then explode, and that is the hospital parking lot. Analysts geolocated the footage to the hospital based on parts of the city skyline. That was brilliant, by the way, intel analysis. Hamas claims Israel bombed the hospital, killing hundreds. Not the case. The Israeli government said a malfunctioning terrorist rocket was to blame, and they have the goods. They brought the receipts with them. And this is the footage that they gave us to back up that claim. And you can see the fire. It is an horrific scene. And hundreds did indeed lose their lives in that terror rocket malfunction. It is, we don't know exactly how many people were injured. We know that there were 350 people that were sent to another hospital in Gaza. That hospital overwhelmed already, but now had more work to do. And this brings us back to this humanitarian issue that we've been discussing regarding the Palestinians. Now, I have come out and said, and I mean it, and I still do, that humanitarian aid for the Palestinians is not the best thing in the world for either the Israelis or the Palestinians, insofar as this is going to continue for decades, as it has continued for decades, if indeed there isn't a moment where the Palestinians must be forced to negotiate in good faith. They've negotiated before, but not in good faith. And they need to negotiate, be forced to negotiate in good faith. The tide is beginning to turn against Palestinians and against all of these organizations that continue to use the Palestinian cause as a way to diminish or outright destroy Israel and to maintain the status quo ante of hatred throughout the Middle East. That's all they're doing here. And it's time to stop it. there will not be peace in Israel or Palestine until there is either a two-state solution or a declaration that there is no need for a two-state solution because the Palestinians apparently have chosen genocide for the Israelis, and then complain that the Israelis just simply won't accept another genocide and fight back. That's all I can say is the case. And so Israel decided, and rightly so, that it would defend themselves. And I can't see any reason why they wouldn't. There are inscriptions on their nuclear weapons, and they do have nuclear weapons, that say never again. And they're referring to the Holocaust. And that is the circumstance that they fight for today. There is some other video. This is kind of expensive for the Israeli Defense Force. We talk an awful lot about how certain things are not brought to the nation regarding the mainstream media reporting on, say, a story where there is classified information involved. And the reason they do that is because they don't want to tip the hand of sources and methods. Well, this time around, Israel was ready. This has happened before. These shortfall rockets landing in the Gaza Strip instead of in Israel and doing bad damage that Hamas and Islamic Jihad then immediately blame Israel for. Well, this time Israel had the receipts. And this is another one. And it exposes sources and methods. This is a videotape that has on it a conversation between what I believe are Hamas terrorists discussing the fact that Islamic Jihad had a rocket malfunction. I'll tell you more about the sources and methods next, but goodness sakes, check this out.
بشوف الصاروخ زي هيك والشظايا هذه فبقول لك تبع الجهاد الصواريخ الجهاد الإسلامي هاي. إيه؟ فهم بقولوا تعاون الجهاد الإسلامي. إنه من عندنا هذا؟ شكله من عندنا مين اللي بيقول هيك؟ بيحكوا إنه الشظايا تبعت الصاروخ إنه الشظايا محلية مش زي شظايا إيش بتقول؟ سبحان الله من عندنا ما لقاش غيرين بجرسلي. عاد هذول تلاقيهم من المقبرة الورا دي بفلك محط فيهم. ايش اصدر بتلاقيهم طالعين من المقبرة الورا المستشفى المعمداني دي اللي هو فسه ونزل عندهم. هو في مقبرة وراه؟ المعمداني ولك عند الساحة بالضبط. هي وين لما تدخل على الساحة؟ أول ما تدخل على الساحة تدخلش على البلد عيدك اليمين في مستشفى المعمداني. عرفتها.
Yeah. So they are Hamas operatives discussing the failure of Islamic Jihad. And there's disgust, not just at Islamic Jihad, but also at the fact that couldn't the rocket have fallen someplace else? Now, getting back to sources and methods. The people involved in that conversation, even though their names were bleeped, they know when that conversation took place. They know where that conversation took place. And that means they also know now that their communications are compromised by Israeli intelligence. And so they will now immediately stop using that ability to, or that avenue of a conversation. But Israel thought that it was important enough that they go ahead and release that video. But that's going to be expensive because Hamas now knows that their mail is being read, that their conversations are being heard, and so on. There was also another epic failure that I have to report on, speaking of cleaning up after major news organizations, here on the Wells Report. Now, I can't take credit for not reporting the story. I can take credit for if I had reported the story of the rocket or the apparent, at the time being reported as Israeli bombing of a hospital, I would have used those exact words. Here is what is being said. What is being said is alleged, etc., that Israel perhaps bombed this hospital. But that's not what happened. Mainstream news organizations around the world went with a Hamas narrative. They went with a Hamas narrative. In other words, of the two people or the two organizations involved in this particular war, which one of them are you going to pay attention to? By the way, while I'm handing out incredible excoriation and negative critique on these organizations, let me talk to you about an organization that didn't get it wrong. You're not going to believe it. Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera reported almost immediately that it was a shortfall from a terrorist rocket. So if you wonder why from time to time we put Al Jazeera reports on the air, it's not because they're totally awful every single moment. But there were a lot of people that were awful. And you can say that they're awful every single moment because they're biased. And what about that bias? What bias is that? That bias is against Israel and thus against the Jews. And it gets right back to anti-Jewish bigotry that is pervasive, unwelcome, horrible, terrible, pointless. And it's on the part of the people telling the story or the people determining what is and isn't. You know, we talk a little bit about the weaponized Department of Justice in this nation. And we talk about the biased media in this nation. And that basically is only against half of the nation. But this same bias, this same bigotry, is focused on an entire country because that country is filled with Jews. There is absolutely no excuse for failing to report this story properly. I sit here, I work with two people, and I can get it right. Why in living hell can't they? And by the way, it's not just the media. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, decides yesterday he's going to fly to the Middle East. He's going to have a summit with Mahmoud Abbas and the president, or excuse me, the king of Jordan, and so on and so on. All these people are going to get together. By golly, he's going to go out there and fix it. Mahmoud Abbas was the first to cancel the meeting. Why? Because Mahmoud Abbas realized that it wasn't Israel, and there was no blaming Israel, that it was indeed the terror activity in the Gaza Strip, which, by the way, he is not directly responsible for. Mahmoud Abbas is the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, on the other side of the country, a much bigger territory. The Gaza Strip is run by Hamas. And I don't know whether Mahmoud Abbas is someone who is, shall we say, has enough mental alacrity to see what's happening to Hamas. But Hamas has blown it, not just for themselves. They are nothing more than a terror organization. They are ISIS. They will be destroyed. But in that destruction, what is also abundantly obvious is the people that stand with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Well, they're Palestinians. And so as Hamas destroys itself, the Palestinian Authority has got to disavow Hamas and Islamic Jihad and all of those organizations that are trying to kill Israel, which takes us to one place and one place only. That is the Palestinian Authority having to decide whether they are going to do something they've never done, which is to negotiate in good faith for a Palestinian homeland. They can either do that or die. Well, John David, you're talking about Palestinian genocide. No, I'm not. I'm talking about being forced to make a decision. Either the Palestinian people will be a scourge nation, a pariah nation of terrorists, or they will negotiate in good faith for a Palestinian homeland. May I suggest that homeland be the West Bank? Seems to me like that'd be a great place for it. As far as the Gaza Strip, as far as I know, that belonged to Hamas and belonged to an enclave of Palestinians who not just voted Hamas in to power, but actually support Hamas. Therefore, they are Hamas, and as far as I know, the Gaza Strip should be basically a predominantly Palestinian neighborhood under Israel control. And that's probably where it's going to end up. And so, the provocateurs are made plain. The terrorists are made plain. The people of Palestine, the Palestinian people, run the risk of becoming terrorists if they haven't already become terrorists. That's the way I see it. How about you? Give us a call. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Daniel Hoffman is a former CIA station chief stationed in the Middle East. He's also a Fox News contributor. Maria Bartiromo is someone who works on Fox News Business or Fox Business Channel. She's a first-rate anchor journalist. And she and Daniel Hoffman got together and had a conversation about all of this. And it's important. It's important journalism you should see. So let me bring that to you here as we continue our coverage of the Hamas-Israeli war on the Wells Report. Check this out.
I think that this very tragic bombing of that hospital is really a microcosm of what we're going to see in Hamas, where in the event that Israel mounts that ground offensive, as we expect will happen, it's going to be bloody and there will be lots of civilian casualties. And lost in translation is the fact that Israel is the victim of a Hamas, unprecedented Hamas terrorist attack where innocent Israeli civilians were brutally murdered. But the way that this is going to be portrayed, the twisted narrative that we're going to hear about is that that Israel is responsible, where in fact Hamas is showing absolutely no regard for human civilians. They're using them as shields,
right?
As human shields in Gaza, and that's what Hamas wants. The more bloody the conflict, the better. They just want to, as I wrote in a Fox News column this week, just midwife another generation of enmity between Jews and Arabs.
Daniel, President Biden in Israel on the same day that the United Nations sanctions from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal on Iran's ability to acquire and send ballistic missiles to enemies of the U.S., that is expiring today. It is making it easier now for Tehran to send missiles to the terrorist groups that it backs. Concerns are growing over Iran's potential involvement in the Israel-Hamas war. What are your thoughts on Israel and the impact of Iran, given the fact that Iran has already made warnings to Israel that if they go into the Gaza Strip, the country will face, quote unquote, an earthquake?
Yeah, look, we always had significant concerns about Iran. One was the fact that now they're a nuclear threshold state. So that was the first thing that we were concerned about with the failed JCPOA deal. Second was the ballistic missile program, which is growing. And as you noted, those UN sanctions are set to expire today. And third is Iran's state sponsorship of terrorism, which is what we're seeing in the Gaza Strip, where without Iran, Hamas never would have been able to mount that terrorist attack on Israel, as well as Iran's support for Lebanese Hezbollah, which has their finger on the trigger and 100,000 plus missiles aimed at Israel. And the real concern on the part of the United States that a second front will open between Israel and Hezbollah, and that would be another significant challenge for Israel's national security, which is why we've sent the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Gulf and plan on sending the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier in the coming days. But we haven't solved, the Iran problem in the Middle East.
We have not. We've not solved the Iran problem. And it's time that we do exactly that. It is time to tell Iran, on no uncertain terms, that they need to stop, or we will stop them. Period. Laid out there just like that. And they'll sit there and say, oh, there you are, warmongering Americans trying to impose American hegemony. And politicians will say, oh, no. But real people, American citizens will say, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. You guys can't live without the United States being the police officer of the world. We keep trying not to be the police of the world, but you won't let us, will you? Okay, so we're the police of the world. Stop or we'll pulverize you. That's the difference between solving a problem and exploiting a problem. I was talking about the president, and I was talking about journalistic efforts reporting this story. I forgot to tell you that on the way to Tel Aviv, where President Biden was going to sit down with all these people, first talking to Israel and then moving to Jordan. President Biden, the actual publicity effort surrounding President Biden, because I'm pretty sure he didn't say this himself, he's got some tough questions for Bibi Netanyahu. Yeah, what about? The answer is he was speaking too soon, just like a lot of American media outlets spoke too soon regarding exactly what happened with this hospital. Taking the word of terrorists over the word of one of the great nations on the planet. And certainly an American ally, there is no excuse for the president thinking like that. I don't know why he did. And moreover, I don't understand just exactly what's going on with the circus that surrounds President Biden and what is beginning to look like an anti-Semitic effort on the part of not just this president, but the people around him. And who are those people? Gosh, it seems like the Obama administration is still in business. And they're using Joe Biden as a puppet. And is that, by the way, the source of this anti-Semitism? So just like I made it plain for Iran, I'll make it plain for the Democrat Party and the leftists in charge, apparently, of the Biden administration. If you support Hamas, you are Hamas. And if you are Hamas, just exactly what are you doing in the halls of power in the United States of America? Moreover, just exactly why is it that people who must know this, if I can figure it out, other people can figure it out? Why haven't they chased those goons out of power in Washington, D.C. yet? Unless, of course, they're all on the same team, the same anti-Israeli, same anti-Jewish bigotry team. We sure are learning a lot, aren't we? This is the Wells Report. Hour number 2 is next. See you in 6 minutes.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. We are covering the Israeli-Hamas war. We have seen a turn of fortune that favors Israel, which I believe is appropriate in this case. The UN Security Council has just voted against demanding humanitarian aid be given to Gaza, but it seems as though Israel and the powers that be have already made a deal. There will be a humanitarian pause for more supplies to go to hospitals and such, and the American stipulation on that would have been, well, you can do that, but none of that can go into the hands of Hamas, which is going to be impossibly difficult. It's one of the things about a totalitarian government. There is nobody else to deal with. So will these supplies end up in the hands of Hamas? By the way, what Hamas does is fascinating. We just got informed today that that what is actually going on is indeed that the humanitarian aid that's coming around the world involves, well, I don't know, plumbing supplies, etc. Plumbing supplies. Well, what do you think they're using to make rockets with? Those pipes that are intended for plumbing. In other words, Hamas has turned the Palestinians on the West Bank into their own particular terrorist tools. And it is awful. It is horrendous. It is terrible. Meanwhile, the Security Council is in business. Let's dip in. It looks like the ambassador from Ecuador is speaking at the Security Council. Let's see what he's having to say.
We are convinced that the collective work and negotiation in good faith are indispensable. And these are the best way to fulfill the responsibilities placed upon us. We fully believe, President, that the Council cannot continue in silence in the face of events which are clearly a threat to international peace and security, and which are already having serious humanitarian consequences. The Brazilian presidency's draft includes elements which are necessary in the face of a situation which is worsening by the minute. The credibility of the Council depends upon our decisions at times like this. In this regard, Ecuador abstained with regard to the amendments, since these are elements which are covered in the resolution. We regret the fact that once again the Council was unable to adopt a resolution through the use of the veto. But this is not the end of our efforts. We will do everything within our reach to ensure that the Council can very soon pronounce itself and act with regard to this conflict. President, on the 24th of September...
All right, so that is, by the way, the Security Council doing what the Security Council does, which is basically nothing. Talking about the unfortunateness of the lack of fortune involved in the Security Council actually making a decision, because anybody on the Security Council can veto anything at any time. Okay, that's fine. The entire organization is essentially set up to do nothing, which it does brilliantly. And I thought maybe the United States ambassador was going to speak, because they had just finished up a speech by the United Kingdom, and the United States sits next to the United Kingdom on the Security Council. I was hoping that the president of the Security Council, the ambassador from Brazil, was going to go to the U.S., which is why we went that direction. But no, we want to hear from Ecuador instead. Okay, that's fine. So let's bring you up to date on what exactly is going on. This 3 minutes ago, following the U.S. decision to block the resolution calling for a humanitarian pause in the conflict, Sultan Barakat, a professor at Hamid bin Khalifa University, said a veto is not given on something implicit. To say that there is no reference for Israel to have the right to defend yourself is ridiculous. Every state has the right to defend yourself. That's implicit. And this rule, that is the rule that nations work on. Barakat added, clearly, this has been taken as an excuse, and I fear it's going to have a greater impact way beyond Israel and Palestine. This is going to be the last straw, or even the last nail in the coffin of the modern order that was created after World War II. U.S. was behind the veto of the UN Security Council resolution calling for a humanitarian pause in Gaza. Now, I know why the United States did that. Because they want this to be solved. I understand all that. When I said that the Security Council couldn't get anything done, it's designed not to get anything done, well, there you go. And so this was a reply to the U.S. Veto of the humanitarian pause resolution, which, by the way, the United States already took care of with President Biden and Israel directly today when President Biden was speaking with Netanyahu. So that's already taken care of. It's moot. Israel will not allow humanitarian supplies into Gaza from the Israeli side. This, by the way, is also out of date, even though it's only 12 minutes ago. We're sitting right on top of all of this. Israel has indeed agreed to allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip on a limited basis. And that was essentially leveraged by President Biden saying, hey, we've got these supplies for you, but we need you to at least stop for a minute. I believe, by the way, that that's a mistake. I believe that, once again, as much as there is human suffering in the Gaza Strip, it was earned by the Palestinians and their leadership. The leadership of Hamas in the Gaza Strip did this to their own people. They have no problem martyring their own citizens for the sake of their politics. And so the only way to do this is, by the way, to say, okay, if you want to suffer, we'll help you. And I know it sounds cruel, but which is more cruel? 50 years of this constant pot-shotting of Israel by these same people in these same regions for the same reason, all as a rallying point for the entire Arab world, not because they love Palestinians. And we know that's true because all these refugees have to go someplace. Where are they going to go? Egypt? Egypt says no. Jordan? Jordan says no. Jordan fought a civil war with Palestinians 40 years ago. They're not planning on Act 2, and so they don't want Palestinians in their country. Why? Well, because Palestinians are terrorists. And those are not words I throw out there just because I'm anti-Palestinian. I'm not. Not in any way, shape, or form. I am anti-death. I'm anti-terror. I'm anti-bigotry. And the Palestinians represent every bit of that. All three. And if they want to stop being thought of that way, yesterday we were talking about this young American Palestinian college student worried that people are not going to be able to see the actual humanitarian aspects of Palestinians. Well, you have to start acting like humans first. And I know that's very harsh, but it's also very true. If you want people to understand the humanity of the Palestinian people, you better start being human first. Going out into somebody else's country and slaughtering people just that you happen to meet on the street, that's not how you get anything done. Negotiating in bad faith for half a century, saying that we must have a homeland of our own, and then saying Israel can go to hell after the last time they were offered a homeland of their own. And then just sitting there stewing in their own juices in the Gaza Strip, they finally decide to go, well, we're just going to take this in hand and that's going to be that. Because if we don't, Israel's going to make a deal with Saudi Arabia and that's going to be it. And Palestinians have this really great thing going. They trade on anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish bigotry. And what they do is they pay off the anti-Jewish bigots that keep sending the money by going into Israel and killing Jews. So essentially what they're doing is the Palestinians, at least in the Gaza Strip, are the hit squad for the Holocaust-enabling wannabes around the world. Yeah, what they want to do is they want to kill Jews. Well, that's not what they've been saying, so they're liars. And this is not grade A analysis. You know, it doesn't take a lot of intellect to figure all this stuff out, but I'm amazed. I am amazed that people will continue to hear these ridiculous reports coming out of Gaza, coming out of the West Bank, coming out of the Palestinian power structure, and continue to believe them in an effort to stomp on Israel. And since it's not based in fact or logic or even common sense, it can only be based in anti-Jewish bigotry. And so that's what we've learned out of this war. After the Holocaust, most of the world didn't learn the lesson. And I wonder who these power brokers, these elites around the world, I wonder who they're going to sacrifice next. Are they willing to sacrifice the entire country of Iran? Because that's on the table. What are they willing to sacrifice for the sake of their anti-Jewish hatred? There are two great events in human history surrounding this particular context. One, the creation of the State of Israel. Absolutely required after the horrors of the Second World War and the Third Reich. The other was that suddenly Israel had a full nuclear weapons inventory. I find it more than a God wink. I find it an act of godly intervention into the United States that the people so hated by Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich were the people that came to the United States and helped develop the nuclear weapon that would have been used on Germany had they not quit the war first. And then, after they finished their work of bringing the United States into the nuclear age, they then went to Israel and accomplished the same work again to save the Jews from another Holocaust by unleashing one. And those people who want to essentially prove that Israel is absolutely a terrible country and filled with terrible people will then say, my God, All Iran did was send a salvo of a dozen rockets and destroyed Tel Aviv. And then Israel launched a Jericho 3 missile to Tehran and blew the entire city into nothing more than a smooth tabletop, killing 8 million people. Israel is a terrible country. No, they're not. Israel is not going to suffer another Holocaust. And if they have to mete one out to avoid one of their own, they're going to do it. And frankly, I support it. All you got to do is stop messing with Israel. How about you do that? Just stop screwing around with the Jews. Live in peace. Can you do it? Because if you can't, you won't. Back in a minute.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Want to go to the chat room? You can too. Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon. That's where we are every single day here on the Wells Report. We're also, by the way, on Spreaker. So if you're driving someplace and you want to hear the Wells Report, well, we put a soundtrack up every single day on Spreaker. So if you can bring Spreaker up on your cell phone, you can listen to the Wells Report as you drive someplace, and we'd appreciate it if you would. Going to the chat room, Cleo Marchese says, I think President Biden is claiming at 25 that he met with Prime Minister Golda Meir during the Six-Day War. They took a picture together, was shameless. Yeah, I've heard that story 4 times now in the last week and a half. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of all of those President Biden stories. At least what he said was, I was looking at that video. Look at that video of that hospital burning down. You know, I had a fire in my house and almost took out my Corvette and my cat. Fortunately, no one allowed him to tell that story. But, you know, this is something that's part and parcel of a genuinely elderly man. You know, the loop is ever shorter. The stories keep coming. Same stories. Fewer and fewer every time. Less time between each story. And that's what's going on with President Biden. And it's a pity. And I mean, he hasn't genuinely stepped on himself so far. But I can tell you this, he has not left Washington yet. And the King of Jordan, the President of Egypt, and indeed Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, decide not to meet him. That is what we call presidential weakness on the world stage. It's horrific. So anyway, there's that. Let's see what else. The anti-Semitism coming from our universities is also terrifying. If they can do it to the Jews, they can easily turn it to any ethnic group they want. Absolutely and completely true. Again, this is Cleo. That's true. And it is terrible. And the idea that all these college kids that could not hear the word Trump, that needed safe spaces, that were such flowers, that they couldn't deal with life under any circumstances, that they would literally fall on the ground whimpering if somebody said, hey, nice butt, now are such virulent pro-Palestinian wannabe terrorists. Oh, yeah? Gas the Jews, you say, huh? Yeah. Scumbags. The only thing that I can take satisfaction is that when you get finished wandering around with your Palestinian scarf and all that kind of stuff, trying to incite a Jewish-Palestinian war in the United States, that you'll be in debt for probably the next 30 years trying to pay off your college loans. That's the only thing I can say. Let's see, what do you expect here? Look at how they educate the young in Palestine, since we're talking about educating people. Yeah, the Palestinian children are taught from the beginning of their life that Jews are trying to kill them in horrific ways. It's child abuse. It's absolutely child abuse. Root to leaf, terrorists are rotten. They are not human beings. And no, I understand. Well, wait a minute, John. Are you trying to dehumanize another group of people? No, I'm trying to report truthfully on a group of non-human people. You got to follow the narrative. Yeah. And by the way, while we're at this, there's an amusing item coming out of Fox News today. Democrats who are white must drop out of the California Senate race. Or those white Democrats, are not truly committed to diversity, according to a guest essay in the Washington Post. Yeah, that's one of the things about leftist politics. You really don't have to actually react to everything they say. First of all, what they say is garbage. Second of all, you just have to be patient because it's soon going to circle around and destroy itself. It's pathological. This is now racial politics that have reached around to finally start taking out the people responsible for racial politics. More in a moment. This is The Wells Report.
nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. And like I was saying, all you have to do is wait for politics. Just have to wait for mostly leftist politics, but it happens to every party. It just happens less to Republicans or right-wing politics, mainly because they don't get anything done to begin with. Let's just move on. But leftist politics circles around and cancels itself out. And it does happen to the Republican Party. For example, the Republicans who were very angry that there was a group of people, a small group of people, 8 people, the Gates 8 as they're being called, decided to take down Speaker Kevin McCarthy in favor of somebody that would actually do Republican business as opposed to enabling the business of the Democrat Party, which was what Kevin McCarthy was doing. Anyway, they are exceedingly angry, so angry that Jim Jordan is the speaker nominee that they're not voting for him. So there was a vote yesterday. Jim Jordan finished 20 Republican votes behind. And the same people that were garbaging the Gates 8 are now doing the same thing that they criticized the Gates 8 for doing. Okay. Do whatever it is that you wish. As a matter of fact, they're trying to figure out whether or not they've got a quorum. Let's go to C-SPAN, and they're currently chatting with one of their in-studio hosts on the telephone. Let's see. This is a call from Alabama.
They're in the wrong. And just say, Jesus is coming. We got to get ready.
Yep, from Alabama, all right.
If they can't center around Jim Jordan, what Republican do you think they can center around?
Well, I don't care who it is. I mean, I do care, but we just need to gather around just one person and let's get this stuff going. It's just crazy.
Again, you can see this play out on C-SPAN, our main channel there. If you want to keep watching there, perhaps you have to be out and about today. Feel free to follow along on our mobile app at C-SPAN Now and on your computer at cspan.org. As we watch and wait to see what happens on the events of today. We'll hear from Arizona. Independent Line, this is Gabriel. Hello.
Hello, this is Gabrielle. I would like to know why people are supporting any of these America First caucus people. Do they not recall what happened in the past? In 1939 to 1941 with America First people, they were the ones who supported Hitler.
Well, no.
And they call
okay.
themselves Americans?
All right. Yeah, that's fine. By the way, that's an independent call from Arizona on C-SPAN, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, but that's a different level of America First. Those, by the way, involved, I don't know, Joseph Kennedy. And so just so you know, that part of the history is making a point. The other part of history is to actually make the point real. And so anyway, that's what happens. That's the difference between somebody like me who does this all the time, actually has to go back into history and actually know stuff, and people that are just trying to find out what's going on. In other words, why would they support America First? Well, is there any reason for any of us to be sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine? The answer is no. There isn't. And yes, American isolationism led to the Second World War. Absolutely true. But things were different then, insofar as then this nation didn't have a $33 trillion national debt. Whose money are we spending? Not ours. We've already spent ours. We're spending our children's, our grandchildren's, our great-grandchildren's. All because of these same politicians. So, like I was talking about, once again, things are ferociously weird and strange. Now, white Democrats must get out of the California Senate race because if they don't, they're not actually committed to diversity, this according to a guest essay. Democrat Representative Katie Porter and Adam Schiff have already thrown their hat into the ring in the Senate race to fill the seat left by the departure of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. But author and podcast host Steve Phillips urged them to step aside and allow U.S. Representative Barbara Lee, the Democrat from California, a black woman, to take the lead instead to prove they care about diversity. Quote, time and time again, it has been shown that black women are the heart and soul of the Democrat Party. Democrats across the country agree that black women are badly underrepresented in our nation's leadership. Schiff and Porter are white. Lee is a black woman. The right course is clear, isn't it? This according to, again, Mr. Steve, hold on a minute here. I just had it. Steve Phillips. Well, thank you, Steve. How does racism feel coming out of your pen and mouth at the same time? It's unbelievable. The right course is clear. White people no longer need to apply. That's unbelievable. This is the party that accuses everybody else of racism. So, according to these people, this Democrat Party, racism is just fine as long as the right people are being discriminated against. While we're on the subject of that, the Green New Deal's getting slapped around by reality. The Biden administration is facing an onslaught of opposition to its proposed fuel economy standards, which critics say would essentially increase consumer costs and unfairly burden U.S. businesses. The Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration received more than 62,900 public comments related to the fuel economy regulation it plans to impose in late July during its comment period, which ended on Monday of this week. The so-called Corporate Average Fuel Economy, CAFE, standards received opposition letters from a wide range of Americans, including 26 states and energy, agriculture, and automotive industries. The proposal is yet another attempt by the Biden administration to restrict Americans' freedoms to decide what vehicle fits their needs and budget. This, according to Will Hupman, the American Petroleum Institute's vice president of downstream policy, in a statement. Quote, combined with EPA's proposed tailpipe emission standards, these rules amount to a de facto ban on cars and trucks using liquid fuels, which can and should be a part of the solution to reduce carbon emissions. API argued in its comment letter to the NHTSA that while it supports policies to lower drive greenhouse gas emissions in the transportation sector, the proposed fuel economy standards would harm a consumer's choice, raise costs, and create a non-resilient transport sector that is vulnerable to unexpected disruptions since it would be dependent on electric vehicles. In other words, people might flip the switch. Yeah, there are a couple of different reasons, by the way. And I'm bringing this up. I understand we've got a speakers thing that we need to talk about. However, what I want to do is I want to bring this circumstance up for discussion, which is this. We're $33 trillion in national debt. What resource does the United States have that would handily pay off that debt with much to spare without having to ask every American in the United States to pay $250,000 to the government to get ourselves out of debt? What resource is that? That is right. The resource that's currently called fossil fuel. That's the only resource we have. The only resource we have to pay off a debt that big. And we're trying to turn that into what? Something we can't use? Why is that? Well, as we all know, looking back in history, the way to destroy a republic is through the Treasury. Is that what's going on here? Sure looks like it. But why would you want to? Especially since you're going to lose in the attempt. I don't know. But let's talk about the speaker's race, shall we? So there's a vote to hold a second round of speaker voting, and we'll see what's going on there. We're just going through a quorum call. Let me go back. I think I dumped it. Yeah, I think I dumped it. Anyway, there was a quorum call. They will be voting and nominating beginning in about 20 minutes if they don't get started early. Yeah, let me see what I got here. Let's see. Yeah. That's the House of Representatives. Let me see if I can bring that up one more time. Here you go. This, by the way, the time has been long expired. Let me see what they're talking about here on the Wells Report as we bring this up. Let's go. Okay, this is just people milling about. So 430 are there. 3 are missing. One of them is a Republican, which I believe brings the necessary vote down to 214. In other words, if there's one missing, Jim Jordan can only lose 3 more votes, as far as I know. Democrats are there all but 430 in the chamber, and they will, in just a little bit, begin to make nominations. The Democrats will nominate their minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and someone will nominate Jim Jordan. Now, if anybody else nominates anybody else, then what's going to end up with is then Jim Jordan is not going to win the second vote. It took 15 to get Kevin McCarthy into the speakership. I don't know how many votes it's going to take, but with every vote, the Republican Party looks more and more and more stupid. That's what I see. But anyway, that is where we stand with that. And once again, at the top of the hour, these people will be making those decisions. 4 House Democrats who voted against Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan in the House Speaker race yesterday say they will do so again. That puts Jordan in a position where he cannot lose any other GOP member and prevail. As a matter of fact, with 1 Republican missing, now it means that he can't lose. He can only lose 3. Okay, he has less than that. As a matter of fact, that might be it right there. We'll see if he can convince people otherwise. Jordan came up 17 votes short of the 217 needed to win the gavel after 20 GOP lawmakers voted against him. While more than 4 votes in opposition would sink Jordan in the second round, a strong improvement could put him in position to prevail in a succeeding round. Representative Ken Buck, the Republican who lives in Colorado, who voted for Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota, instead has not changed his position on Jordan, his office indicated to Fox News Digital. Buck had previously expressed reservations over Jordan's support for former President Trump's 2020 election claims. All right, by all means, continue to whip that horse. Go ahead, Mr. Buck. You just go right ahead and do that. And by the way, are you the one responsible for the Republican Party not making a decision to at least have a congressional inquiry into the anomalies of the 2020 election? Not to prove the election was wrong, but to disprove once and for all on an official level in public, in front of everyone, that everything went along fine. There's nothing irresponsible on the part of anybody for wondering what happened in the 2020 election or supporting Donald Trump in saying that Donald Trump believes that something happened in the 2020 election. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is to not investigate it, Mr. Buck. Anyway, I keep railing for that. I don't know why they didn't do that. Except I know why they didn't do that. Because the Republican Party is right along with the Democrat Party in not wanting Donald Trump to disassemble every single political party he runs up against. Because the political parties of this nation are absurd and do stupid stuff. It doesn't make any difference which one. And President Trump represents a body politic of we the people as opposed to a body politic of those people who think they are our betters. And that swamp is how we describe those people. They just simply don't want to let go of power. And this is them not letting go of power, just in case you want to know. Another GOP lawmaker, Representative Carlos Jimenez of Florida, he's a Republican, is sworn to keep voting for ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy on the House floor. His spokesperson said that his mind remains unchanged as of this morning. Jimenez told Fox News Digital himself that he was now supportive of a GOP push to temporarily empower interim Speaker Patrick McHenry of North Carolina to pass legislation while the House Republicans work to agree on a candidate. Okay, look, once again, I made this abundantly clear over and over and over again. What is the mission of the current Republican Party? The current Republican Party, what is their mission? Do you have any idea? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. What is the mission of the current Republican Party? The answer is they don't have one. They used to be for small government and lower taxes. And now the Republican Party is for political expedience and political opportunism, which means they work with Democrats. which means they don't have to actually come up with a real agenda. They don't have to do the right thing for the American people. They just have to fight against the evil Democrats and make the Democrat priorities that cost us trillions and trillions of dollars cost us fewer trillions of dollars. And then they claim victory. No, all you did was slow down the defeat. And there are people in the Republican Party like Jim Jordan, I think, who want to move past that with the Republican Party and get on to the people's business. Well, we got to get rid of populism. We can't actually please the people. Vox populi. We can't. We can't do that. No, because we're going to lose too much power if we do that. Thank you, Mr. Pence. I appreciate your commentary. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. You want to talk a little Canadian politics next? The answer is yeah, and you'll see why in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. From time to time, I advocate for the Conservative Party of the United States, beginning with the Conservative Party of Texas, of course. And there are conservative parties. There's the Conservative Party of Great Britain, the Conservative Party of Canada. And since Justin Trudeau has mangled the entire country of Canada, there is a guy who is the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada named Pierre Poilievre. Now, that's not the way you say it in French Canadian, but I don't have the accent down. But Pierre Poilievre is a guy who really read... I was laughing today when I saw this particular interview between this guy and a Vancouver-based reporter named Don Urquhart. Okay. So a lot of people from time to time have lost their minds and asked me if I was ever interested in running for a political office, and I said no. And the reason I say no is because I would represent something that would be incredibly scary to the body politic. That's thing number one. Thing number two, I would pretty much disassemble anybody that tried to pull off what Mr. Urquhart tried to pull off with Mr. Poilievre. And this is just so incredibly entertaining. It is indeed a moment of zen that I want you to share and remember, because this is the kind of politician, as a matter of fact, Gary Olivier says he's tired of all these fakers. Well, Gary, if you want to see somebody who's not a faker, check out this guy.
I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological stuff.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, I don't
really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
like who?
I don't know who, but
well, you're the one who asked the question, so yeah. You must know somebody.
Okay, I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
what are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying
in terms of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your question is.
Okay, then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense. Okay. Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government.
Pierre Poilievre to answer Yvonne Field's question. Who is this guy? Yeah. Sitting there calmly eating an apple, totally disassembling a bumbling left-wing quote-unquote journalist. Those guys like that, few and far between, and the reason they're few and far between is because people like Gavin Newsom are able to destroy people like that so that they don't get exposed as being idiots. And that's why you don't have more of those people involved in American politics. I'm surprised there's something like that person, again, Pierre Poilievre. He's 44 years old. He is the Conservative Party leader. He's very likely going to be the next prime minister of the country of Canada. And he's polling very, very well, as you might expect. Eating his apple, standing outdoors, Vancouver-based reporter Don Urquhart asserted that he was taking a page out of Republican Donald Trump's playbook. And Poilievre's calm, harsh responses has caused him to be a viral sensation. And there's a perfect reason why. The reason that he's a viral sensation is because he's a guy in politics who looks you right in the face and says what's true. We're going to make common sense common. I was just talking a little bit ago about President Biden facing pushback on his electric vehicle program, which is intellectually bankrupt on its face. Because it's not common sense. It's baloney. It's baloney on so many levels that I'm surprised it took this long for somebody to totally destroy it. But finally, the American Petroleum Institute, the API, said, this is not going to work. And it's not going to work. And again, it's because politicians want it to work, because with the idea that they can tell you what kind of car to drive comes their version of political power. I call it oppression. Anyway, this went back and forth, and the guy finally said, why should people vote for you? Common sense. Common sense. I'm going to make common sense common. And this is just brilliant. It was just really, really good. And if you want to know the next generation of successful politicians, you just saw one. Too bad he's a Canadian. The executive producer of The Wells Report is Dirk Steele. Our associate producer and publicist is Jude Dankworth. You can find her at netmediaconsultants.com. My name is John David Wells. This has been today's edition, the Wednesday, October 18th, 2023 edition of The Wells Report. Tell your friends about us. Come back to us. See you tomorrow. Oh, yeah. God, I love that. Take good care, friends, and thank you very much for paying attention, and we will see you again tomorrow.